here in Kansas City, at least, we feel like if D Ford doesn't line up in an offside position, we're making Super Bowl plans right now. Obviously, there were a lot of other plays that could have swung this game as well, but that's a stark one that stands out. In what ways do you feel the coaching of Bill Belichick?
But I've said it all year, and I don't think people understand what I'm saying. I wrote about it in the book Gridiron Genius. There is a sense of pace, and there is a sense of complementary football that has to go. And as great as the Chiefs were all season, they never understood that. They always were in a mad hot dash to score. And yes, scoring is important, but pace and tempo and control of the game is so important. And you can talk about D Ford lining up offsides all you want, but when the Chiefs get the ball back with 3:37 to go in the game, and they have a chance to either send the game to overtime at 24-24 or win the game outright 28-24, and reduce the Patriots' timeouts or just reduce the game so far down that the Patriots can't score a touchdown. And they come out, and it just shows you they just don't understand or appreciate game management as it comes to that. They start to drive off with an incomplete pass, worst thing you can do. Now, remember, when you watch the Patriots at the end of the first half, when they got the ball 90 yards away from the score, were they in a rush to score? Of course not. Even when they got the first down and they started a 2-minute warning, they didn't even go into 2 minutes. They went into their tempo offense, not their 2-minute offense. And so because of this, the Patriots understand that to get the ball back to the opponent is not the right thing to do. The Chiefs never got this all season long, and it eventually, in a big game, it cost them, and that's where it did. I think if you look at that drive with 3:32 to go in the game, you look at that drive and you analyze the play calls in that drive, and you can fire Bob Sutton all you want, but the reality is, in that drive right there is why the Chiefs never understood complementary football all season, and that's what cost them.
So the Chiefs were averaging 3 yards a carry with their running back. Damian Williams was the only guy that got any carries in that game. It was 10 carries for 30 yards. Is it possible that they just knew they weren't going to be able to run the ball against the Patriots, and so that's why they had to play to their strengths?
Nate, you're missing the point. It's not about being successful running. It's about starting the clock. It's about allowing the clock to work in your favor. It's about getting the clock to work in your favor. It's not about getting yards. It's not about getting first downs. It's about making the clock work for you, not against you. And you knew when you took that drive out, let's score and let's eliminate their time. The Patriots are waiting on the other sideline to either start to call timeout or to get into their situations. They never had to do a thing. They never felt any pressure. If you run the ball there at 3:32, whether you gain a yard, an inch, anything, you start the clock, and now you put the pressure on Belichick to either call timeout, which he probably wouldn't do, but you let that play clock run all the way down. Call your pass on second down if you like. Now you get another completion, or maybe you stop the clock there, but now you've taken away 40 seconds, which essentially is 6 plays or 5 plays, and you start the clock. That's called complementary football. That's called how to manage the game. Watch the end of the first half. If you want to do a documentary on how to run a game and control pace and tempo, just watch that. And that's what you get to. And unfortunately, the Chiefs just have never understood it all year. You go back to the Ram game, they never did. It was just, hey, we're going to outscore you. We're going to play Big 12 football, and that's what we're going to do. And this is what happens when you go against a team that understands it. Look, the other reality of this game, and you can blame Bob Sutton all you want, and certainly there's a lot of area for blame, but when your 5 best players of your 6, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, D Ford, Chris Jones, Justin Houston, make no contribution significantly to the outcome of the game, you're going to lose.
And isn't that what the genius, one of the geniuses of Bill Belichick is? You talked about it to us going into the game. He will take away what you're best at and make you beat them another way. And he did that with Hill, Kelce, and then even the best players on the defense, didn't he?
He did. I mean, look, it's clear that nobody from the chief organizations read Gridiron Genius. It's all right in the book. Like, it was all right in the book. That's why I talked about putting Tyreek Hill in the backfield. That's why I talked about they were going to have a counter move. This was a chess match, and they were going to have a move to make it be checkmate on the Patriots. Instead, the Patriots checkmated the Chiefs. If they put Tyreek Hill in the backfield, and even if they run him on an outside zone, which is no big deal, right? It forces those double teams away. But what Tyreek Hill was getting every single play was a jam, a high-low jam, not just an in-and-out jam. You can't in-and-out Tyreek Hill. He runs through it. He's Randy Moss. But if you high-low jam him, where you have a guy trail him on all the underneath stuff and a guy on top, now you've got him boxed in. Now the ball's got to go somewhere else. And J.C. Jackson did a good job on Travis Kelce. We talked about him. Look, he's not a tight end. He's a wide receiver. That's what he is. They were never worried about him blocking at the point of attack. They were worried about him in the passing game. And so that's what they set up their game plan. Look, it was pretty clear about the way. Now, I thought the Chiefs would win the game because I thought they would make some adjustments in this game to give the Patriots some problems. They just never did, defensively or offensively.
We're visiting with Michael Lombardi. So do you think Andy Reid makes any adjustments? Does he take this offseason to look at some of the stuff you're talking about, or are we going to be looking at the same situation next year?
I think he's got to really make an adjustment. Look, here's the reality, okay? You live in Kansas City. You play outdoors, right? And you've got to have a little bit of a way to play with a little more tough-mindedness on offense. It's pretty in September, and it looks great in October. But when it comes nut-cutting time in December and January, you got to have a little power to your football team. And when Andy first started in Kansas City, it was a little bit of fullback involved in the offense. And there was a little bit of more power. I think they've got to get some of that element back into their football team. And what happens when you become a spread team offensively, a Big 12 team offensively, your defense suffers. Your defense becomes a little bit. Look at the pad level of the Patriots compared to the pad level of the Chiefs. We talked about, now look, everybody never says a bad word about any of the Chiefs drafts, but the Patriots made it very clear that the Chiefs offensive line isn't as good as people think it is. It never has been. They powered Eric Fisher back. They handled Mitchell Schwartz. They rushed Patrick Mahomes exactly the way I told you on Friday they were going to rush him. Force him to back out of the pocket. They did it. That's a concern. Now, not a lot of teams can do that. Not a lot of teams are disciplined enough to do it. But I think when you look at this team, they've got to fix those areas. They've got to get better. They've got to get more physical up front, and they've got to change their style based on where they play. They play in Kansas City. It's cold in December and January, and it's hard to always be explosive. Yeah, it looked good against the Colts. The Colts were on their last leg. It didn't look good against the Patriots.
So it sounds to me like, look, here in Kansas City, people feel like, okay, Bob Sutton is gone. They get a decent defensive coordinator in here. All they have to do is make this a decent or average defense, and the sky's the limit for this team. It doesn't sound to me like you feel like it's that simple.
If they don't change how they play and pace the game, it's not going to be. You're always going to run into somebody who can play up tempo. I mean, look, the reality of it is the Patriots on the other sideline didn't have the best team. They had the team that played the best, and they played a style. It's no different than basketball. You guys are a basketball city, right? You know it. Mm-hmm. Bill Self in Kansas. You know, that's what's called a tournament. That's why when you go and play against a team that matches you up in a tournament in single elimination, and you don't have an answer to play right or left-handed, you don't win. This is what you have to do. You've got to handle it. And Andy's a smart coach. But the things that drive you crazy about Andy are sometimes the lessons don't translate. I mean, Andy's one of the greatest coaches in this league. There's no denying that. His offensive mind is incredible. But when he got into this game, he just didn't handle the situations. He didn't get his best players the ball. He wasn't able to change what he was doing. And then defensively, they didn't have an answer. They didn't have an answer for when they lined up at nickel. They didn't have an answer when they were in any situation, and they got beat to it. I thought they had the better team. I thought they would have answered it. I was disappointed in their adjustments because I knew what the Patriots were going to do.
Well, and the flip side to what we talked about earlier with the Patriots taking away the Chiefs' best weapons, that drive in overtime seemed to be like a perfect example of the Chiefs not doing that. Allowing Julian Edelman and Gronk to in one-on-one coverage basically to beat them on crucial third down plays, right?
Well, look, we said this all week. We thought Bob Sutton was going to have to play a lot of one rat, one robber, pack the middle of the field, because we knew in the last game Brady was 17 for 20 throwing the ball in the middle of the field. We understood that, right? But on that drive, he decided to play cover 2 the first, 3rd and 10, okay? Now, all this crap about the Chiefs deserve the ball back is crap, because there's a 3rd and 10. The chances in the NFL of converting 3rd or 10 are about 18%. So if you can't get off the field on 3rd and 10, you don't deserve to win a game. But not only did the Chiefs not get off the field on 3rd and 10 once, the second 3rd and 10, they played the same exact coverage. Brady runs the same play from a different formation, another first down. Now, finally, the Chiefs decide to double Edelman. They line up Gronk outside the formation. Instead of doubling Gronk, Gronk runs a slant because the previous play he ran outside release and he caught the deep ball, so they didn't handle that. So now he runs a slant first down. 3rd and 10 3 times, bingo, you win. And to me, they were always a play late and $1 short in the game. And I think, to me, it all goes back to this. If you're going to let the Patriots beat you, pack the middle of the field. Make them throw the ball outside. Make them throw the ball to the outside quadrant of the field. And if they can continue to do that, God bless.
We're visiting with Michael Lombardi. Okay, the move has been made, though, Michael, for the defensive coordinator position. And as I said, Chiefs fans do feel at least like maybe there will be somebody to come in here and make those adjustments that you just talked about. Where should they be looking? What type of defensive coordinator should Andy Reid be looking for now?
Well, I mean, that's a hard thing to answer. I mean, I've heard the name Rex Ryan, and I think certainly that's what they have with Bob Sutton. Bob runs Rex's scheme. I mean, that's what they run. They run it, and, Rex has the same issues that Bob were going to have instead of he's trying to match up and doing all that. I'm not sure it wouldn't have been the same if Rex was coaching the defense. And how much does Rex actually want to coach and really be an assistant coach? Is he just missed the game and want to get back in? I think that's the answer. I think they need to be sound. I think they need to find somebody who can coach techniques and fundamentals really well, because I think as you look at this game, I mean, look at the Patriots in the last 2 games of the season. They're playing their best football, right? They've held teams to 2.7 yards a rush. They've outscored their opponents 49-7 in the first half. I think it's about how you set this team up for the long run. And I think that's where, if I were Andy, I would be looking at that. I would be looking at somebody that understood, that could play a little bit as man, that was 33% man coverage and concepts, 33% zone, and 33% zone dogs, where you were a little bit, you can adjust your game out and you had flexibility to play any different style, but you could also be fundamentally and technique sound. And I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. You've got to be able to be fundamentally sound come playoff time.
Do you think, so you mentioned the similar scheme Rex Ryan runs to Bob Sutton's. Do you think they need to hire someone who knows how to work out of this 3-4 base and can take this personnel and kind of keep that similar? Or should they be open to a 4-3 coach or somebody who's willing to change the overall scheme of the defense, which might mean also an overhaul of the personnel?
Well, I think they don't have the ability they can't get into a man-to-man game. So if they're going to go play the Rex scheme all the time, we saw what happened in that. They can't cover on the outside, and the Patriots don't have great receivers. I mean, that's the reality. The Patriots don't have great receivers, and they gained over 500 yards. So I think this has got to be a little bit of whoever they hire, they're going to have to develop the scheme around whoever they hire. I mean, they've got to highlight Chris Jones. He's their best player. Whether they sign D Ford back or not, that remains to be seen. Whether Justin Houston comes back and plays another year, that remains to be seen. But they're going to need to improve the talent base of the defense no matter who the coach is.
Would you franchise D Ford?
I don't know if I would. I think D Ford's a really good player, but I think, there is some limitations to him in terms of, look, the run game. If he's on the field and the people run the ball right at him, I think Trent Brown and that offensive line of the Patriots just basically handled that defensive front pretty well. And so I love pass rushes, and I think it's important. I think I would look over the landscape of the league to see what I could get, but I certainly wouldn't be opposed to it, because one thing I know now, I have Patrick Mahomes on a rookie contract. I can sign good players for the next 3 years and not affect my cap. So I would look seriously into that, but I would also look to see if I could improve myself in other areas with that cap room. I don't think it's a slam dunk, but I would do the research. I would measure twice and cut once before I did it.
Sounds to me like you think they need help at corner more than anything else.
Well, I think they need help at rush. I'm a big believer that, all this talk about corners and coverage, it really comes back to disciplined pass rush. I mean, that was a clinic on Sunday on how to rush a passer. That was a clinic. That game was not won by coverage. That game was won by their discipline and their pass rush. They took advantage of Eric Fisher. They powered him back. They took advantage of Mitchell Schwartz. They powered the inside of the pocket. They made Mahomes feel pressure in the paint, and they also didn't allow him, as much as they could, to step up and back out. We talked about it on Friday. This was going to be Mahomes. You're going to have to back out of the pocket for you to get away. When you feel that pressure in the paint, you're going to back out. Look, the most important job a coach has on defense is to coordinate the pass rush with the D-line coach. No swimmers are allowed. You can't swim up the field. It creates gaps, and it hurts your scheme. You've got to be able to rush with power, and you've got to be able to make that pocket close in. That's what makes great defenses, and that's what the Patriots did. They're not a great defense by any means, but Claiborne and Flowers and Guy and the players, Malcolm Brown, those guys did exactly what they were told to do and how they rushed. The second play of the game defined it all. They ran cross-dog blitz, inside pressure. Mahomes had to get rid of the ball because it came, and it exposed the weaknesses in what the Chiefs were trying to do.
But the Chiefs, that was the one thing they did well this year. They led the NFL in sacks with 52, and they got no pressure on Tom Brady in the championship game.
Well, neither did the Chargers. Nate, neither did the Chargers. Nobody. Brady hasn't been sacked in any playoff game. The ball comes out too quick. They game plan to not get him sacked. That's what they do. That's why Josh McDaniels is one of the best coordinators in football. That's why Josh McDaniels should be a head coach in the NFL, but he hasn't taken a job. I mean, they game planned for it. I mean, his play calling was unbelievable. He lined up in 22. He motioned people out. Bob went to big personnel. He threw the ball out of 22. They were always ahead of the plays down and calls. And, you know, on the sidelines, they're sitting there wondering, you know, when the Patriots gave up the ball and it's 24-21, they were thinking, oh, my God, we might not get the ball back. But when Andy called a pass play on the 1st and 10 to start the drive off, they knew secretly, I'm sure they all knew they were going to get the ball back with plenty of time. The fact that the Patriots had 3 timeouts on the last drive of the game when the Chiefs were trying to tie the game up is really remarkable, considering that the game had so many ebb and flows, but they knew it. So you're talking about really a good coach team.
All right, Michael, we've got a week before the Super Bowl, so we'll wait to get your prediction until then. Thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
All right, that is Michael Lombardi. Some strong takes there, whether you agree or disagree with them. Some strong takes from Michael Lombardi. He doesn't seem to be as optimistic about the fact that the defensive coordinator change will help this team. I respectfully, we watched his defense enough this year. I think you have to factor the defensive equation into it when you look at the time management aspect of things. It's a little bit easier for the New England Patriots to know that they can take their time and ease their way down the field when they know the other team can't stop the run. You know, I mean, yeah, okay, run the ball on 1st down, but I don't think anybody wants to put themselves in 2nd and 10, you know, and that, unfortunately, you know, maybe the Chiefs could have established the run more had they committed to it more in the game, but I don't know. I think that when the Chiefs give up an 8-minute drive to start the game, that's clock management on the Patriots' fault, but it's also the inability for the Chiefs to get off the field. Changes the calculus a little bit. We'll take, and plus, you know, the Chiefs are trying to come from behind in the second half. I think it's a little bit easier to manage the clock when you're playing from a tie game or from in front than it is when you're playing from behind. Anyways, a lot to think about there. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll get a weather forecast from Gary Liz. Be careful on the roads this morning, folks. Back after this.